As a first-generation artist and entrepreneur, I turned to spirituality to assist in conquering my ambitious and honestly intimidating goals, only to find that mainstream spirituality didn't fully honor my lived experience as a queer, Black, neurodivergent, creative, and woman. Not to mention from a low-income background, raised by a single disabled mother, I grew up on Section 8. And despite all the odds stacked against me, in just 7 months, I've managed to build a collective audience of over 10,000 people, get monetized on YouTube, build several streams of passive and active income from my Etsy shop, from monetization, from digital products, from my handmade artwork, and more. And I did all of this without forcing myself to stay positive, without bypassing the harsh reality of my past, my experiences of this country. In this video, you'll get a thorough breakdown of manifestation that honors individuals who are actively navigating personal, generational, and systemic trauma while walking a non-traditional or creative path. I'll explain how you can have the anxiety, the fear, the doubt, and still manifest what you deserve, and how those feelings can actually amplify your journey and your manifestations, and why they actually can be a good thing. You will leave this video feeling liberated, inspired, seen, and ready to take action. I wish I had this video a year ago, 7 months ago even, okay? Also, before we start, I'm cleansing the space. Now, I usually cleanse the space with my special altar spirit guide, Luz. But I ran out of stick incense. The stick incense goes here. So today we are cleaning. Ooh, isn't that cool? Today we are cleansing the space with I made this too, my mushroom house, and it will enchant our space with grounded, safe, homey, cozy, magical, inner child healing energy, okay? I want to talk about how mainstream spirituality misleads people of intersectional and marginalized identities walking a non-traditional, entrepreneurial, or creative path. Some things that didn't resonate for me is shaming negative thinking, because mainstream spirituality teaches that, or at least this is how I interpreted it, is that it is bad to have negative thoughts, and that when you have negative thoughts, you attract more negativity, and that anything that you see in your life, anything that you experience that you aren't happy with, is simply a reflection of you. And I don't think that that's fully true. That didn't fully resonate with me, and that doesn't fully feel fair, because it's like, let's say you're a person of color or BIPOC or queer and you're facing discrimination, and based on the teachings within mainstream spirituality, that's your fault. It's like almost as if all the external things are your fault, and I don't think that's fair or true. And then it leads to this kind of thought loop, this kind of fear-mongering feeling that every time you get a negative thought, despite the weight of what we're navigating in this country, in this world, the discrimination, the cost of living, like everything going on, it makes it feel like we're being asked to do the impossible, that we have to do the impossible to manifest, which is simply not true. Which is why I was saying that mainstream spirituality teachings, I felt like didn't reflect my lived experiences, because I was like, this can't be right. Like, I should be allowed to feel sad, to feel angry, to feel doubtful when I have all these things being thrown at me, being thrown at my community. And you are allowed to feel that way, and that's okay. I'll get into how to move forward with those feelings, how to use those feelings to manifest, how to transmute those feelings later. Seeing videos like how to get what you want all the time, never be sad again, never care again, like none of that makes any sense. Sadness, envy, all those negative feelings, anger are normal human feelings. It's normal to feel that way. I feel like it was pushing toxic positivity and demonizing perfectly human emotions. It's just another form of colonization and oppression and bypassing and gaslighting and capitalism disguised as spirituality. Don't shoot me. Don't shoot me. Okay? Because let's think about it. A lot of the videos I was watching and the authors of the books I was reading are written by people who experience little to no external or systemic resistance. It was really hard for me to fully absorb their teachings and really understand that what they were experiencing was possible for me, which completely defeated the purpose, because I had that resistance. Not to say that their teachings were wrong. There's, of course, a lot of mainstream spirituality teachings are rooted in truth and a lot of wisdom, but the way they are taught can just be distorted or just not resonate. A lot of these books that don't acknowledge these systems that are very real in the world that we live in, because it doesn't affect them in that way, they have the privilege to not address the elephant in the room. And here's the elephant in the room. What if everything always goes your way? What if your manifestations always come in quick? What if it's so easy for you to think positive? Because you're white, because you don't have anyone guarding the door at any of the rooms that you walk into, you don't have anyone denying you access to any room, you have a safety net, you have generational inheritance, you had representation growing up, you had no one questioning your beauty or your looks, you had examples, you had a village, you had the correct support. Sorry, you had systemic support, and you had all the things you needed to succeed. Like, no wonder this is easy for you. What about me? What about us? Not to be a party pooper, it's just the truth. And what this is a classic example of lack of representation that we as BIPOC people, as queer people, etc., marginalized individuals are so used to. For example, band-aids being beige. For a long time, I didn't even know that band-aids are supposed to match your skin tone. Being able to walk into any salon and get your hair done. I don't experience that. So them being able to sit down, read any book, and feel represented and resonate with that manifestation style. It's the same thing. This one-size-fits-all type of approach with a certain demographic, a certain look, a certain upbringing being the default is everywhere. And unfortunately, spirituality isn't the exception. I'm sorry. Or like, for example, medical dosages and medical research. Women, black women, neurodivergent people, are heavily under-researched, and the dosages for medication, for example, are based on measurements for the average white male body and just dispersed across everyone. And if you do a little bit of research, you'll understand that that's not working very well, okay? It does not work very well. That one size fits all does not work very well for anyone that is outside of the default. I said what I said. Stay with me. I'm going to get real positive, real uplifting in a minute. Yes, we are underrepresented in a lot of spaces, including spirituality. But that brings me to my next point, my very important point. Bypassing the system, ignoring it, pretending it doesn't exist does not work. A lot of people may use this as a coping mechanism, even people affected by the system, because it is heavy to carry. If you know, when it comes to subconscious reprogramming, anything you avoid, run away from, takes a big space in your subconscious, okay? Just because you ignore it doesn't mean it's not there. Doesn't mean it doesn't have an effect on your life, on your mind, on your manifestations, on your spirit, okay? So ignoring the reality of the system, the reality of, discrimination, of all these uncomfortable topics, racism, sexism, okay? Oppression within spirituality, okay? Gives it more power. Acknowledging it is not giving it power, okay? Acknowledging it, saying it for what it is actually what's going to disempower it. But trying to bypass it, ignore it, is giving it more power. So spirituality is teaching how to think positive. We got all these books and teachings and resources teaching how to think positive, raise your vibration, but not how to do it while living in a system that sustains itself off of your suffering. So my goal is to teach us how to acknowledge the system without submitting to it. Once you face the truth of the system, you can transcend the logic of the system, okay? So first, let's acknowledge the elephant in the room. No matter how positive you think, no matter how talented you are, no matter how perfect you are, okay, you will still face discrimination. Thinking positive is just a band-aid until you get to the root of your negative thoughts. And the root of a lot of our negative thoughts are rooted in systemic, generational, and personal trauma, and those are interconnected. The system, systemic, generational, and personal trauma and resistance, if unchecked, will wreak havoc on your mind, on your manifestations. Here is how you reclaim your subconscious, your mind, your manifestations, your life, okay? Your beliefs, your mind, body, and spirit from the system, from your trauma, from the old story, okay? Ask yourself this one question. Who are your beliefs serving? Are your beliefs serving you, Or are your beliefs serving a system that sustains itself off of your suffering? What if I told you that you can manifest experiences that transcend the logic and limitations of the system, of racism, of oppression, okay? What was your reaction to what I just said? Did your brain automatically come up with, no, that's not realistic. No, I can't do that. That's not real. That doesn't make any sense. But how could that work? That means the system is working. That means the system has infiltrated your mind, your beliefs, and that's why you aren't happy with your life. I'm here to illuminate the truth. I'm here to dissolve the illusions and distortions planted inside you by your trauma, by old stories, by what was done to you, by what was said to you, by what you internalized, okay? We are disproportionately affected by fear, doubt, pessimism, distortions, wounds, self-sabotage, all of that. Did you know that all of that fear, all of those fear blockages, all of those mental blockages, those habits are signs of subconscious resistance, are signs of resistance patterns that have been cycled through for generations, for centuries? Let it end with you. The system itself, the oppressor itself, doesn't block you in full. The seeds that it plants in your mind, in your beliefs about money, about beauty, about what's possible for you, about what your life can look at like, about the type of partner you can attract, about how much money you can make, about what type of career you're allowed to have, about the level of success you're allowed to have, about the things you're allowed to do successfully, about how much you're allowed to receive, about how much ease you're allowed to have in your life. That is the only reason the system is still standing, because it so successfully roots itself in collective beliefs, especially within marginalized communities. You know what I'm talking about. I know you feel it. I know you feel it. I know you feel that resistance. I know you feel the real you wanting to emerge, wanting to peel back all these layers that were dimming your light. So here's what it means to beat the odds. We think that in order to be successful, in order to beat the odds as a first generation entrepreneur, being the first in your family, you have to be perfect. You have to be special. You have to outperform all of your peers. You have to grind and hustle and do all of those things. And while that is one pathway there, that is not the pathway of least resistance. That is not the only pathway there, okay? That's the old narrative. What it means truly to beat the odds is to look the system dead in the face and do all the things that it told you you couldn't do. It told you you can't make money easily. Do it. It told you that the only way to make money, to have security and safety, is through a 9-to-5. Do the other thing. That your dreams aren't reliable, make them reliable. That you aren't pretty enough to attract this person, that you aren't enough to attract this person. Are those beliefs even yours? Actually, if you wouldn't choose that belief, if that belief doesn't sit right with you, you don't have to keep it. You don't have to hold it. You have to be questioning everything. And when you find yourself wondering, well, this isn't realistic, this is just how it is, this isn't logical. What is realistic? What is logical? Logic is man-made. The system is man-made, and it's not more powerful than you, than the universe, okay? Like, literally, what can really help with this is zoom out. We are on a floating rock in space. The universe has no known bounds. Like, we don't know everything. The system does not know everything, but it has created such a small boundary, such a small perimeter for your life, for your perspective. You aren't able to comprehend that there is infinite amount of possibilities, pathways outside of the logic of that system. You are on default programming right now. You get to choose what beliefs you want to have, what laws you want to operate in your life. And so next, I want you to ask yourself, where are you watering those limiting beliefs? Is it with your actions? You know you want to pursue this thing, but you haven't done it yet. That means you're watering the belief that you don't think it's possible for you because you weren't born with this, or you don't have this, or you don't look like this, or you aren't the right kind of person. Is it negative self-talk? Is it your For You page? Is it the content you're consuming? The TV shows you're watching? The lack of representation? You subconsciously internalizing the way people who look like you are treated within the For You page? The way people like you are talked about within the content you are consuming? You need to be very conscious of what you're consuming, what you're putting in your mind, what beliefs you're watering with that stuff, and with your actions and with your thoughts. Here is an example. This isn't going to apply to everybody, but it is an example of the ways that the system, that external programming, internalized racism and trauma and oppression manifests in our mind, becomes our default, keeps us constantly bracing, constantly in survival mode, in turn becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy because we're always expecting the worst. We are entertaining these negative beliefs. We're entertaining this distorted logic. because it's all that we know. For example, black girl to black girl. Does he like black girls? I understand that because our desirability, our looks are always being brought into question as black women. Why we do this, ask this question as a coping mechanism. But honestly, ask yourself how that constant thought is serving you. Constantly wondering, does he like black girls? You don't need to ask yourself that. Girl, are you pretty? Are you a good person? Are you that girl? Yes. What is asking yourself, does he like black girls? What is that going to do? You're trying to brace yourself for rejection, in turn manifesting more rejection, more people who see you that way, because that's your subconscious belief. If you feel the need to ask that every time, you believe that. Stop asking that, okay? Because the root of that means that you believe that you really aren't desirable. You are. And this is coming from me, like I understand, but you need to stop, like for example, like dating shows like Love Island. You know how we get treated. I haven't even watched Love Island because I didn't want to internalize the way that they were treated as a reflection of how I would be treated. And it's worked. Like, from someone who looks like me, I have no problem with people being attracted to me or attracting relationships where I feel valued and spoiled and loved, and you know, I've never been cheated on, like all of that, like constantly bracing for the worst. Like I understand how it's very real at the same time, but we live in this system, okay? These people exist, but the system has no business living in you. All those negative beliefs and whatnot have no business living in your mind rent free. I hope that makes sense. This is such a deep, layered, complex topic, and this is what my channel is for, breaking down each individual part. I can't do it all in one video, but you get the point. Now, number 3, ask yourself, how would you proceed in thoughts, actions, and behaviors operating from beliefs that actually serve you? So if you believe that you are desirable, you are beautiful, there are men and women out there who want to date you, who want to spoil you, regardless of skin color, who adore your skin color, who you're somebody's dream girl out there, okay? You're that girl. How would you proceed? How would you move? Would you be constantly asking, oh, do they like black girls? And this is just one example, okay? No, you wouldn't. And so this brings me to my point of when that anxiety, that doubt, that fear comes up, it's okay. But do you submit to the anxiety? Do you submit to the fear? Do you submit to the limiting belief? Or do you act opposite to that limiting belief? For example, with my YouTube channel, with my career, wanting to be an artist and entrepreneur, it's very hard to just think positive, always have positive thoughts, constantly be happy all the time, constantly be optimistic. That's not realistic on this journey. You can have the anxiety, the fear, the doubt, the sadness. You just can't let it rule your actions, rule your mind. And that can't be your baseline, okay? You can feel sadness, feel anxiety, feel scared. You can't live in your sadness. You can't be your sadness, be your anxiety, be scared. Does that make sense? The difference between feeling versus being. So you feel the anxiety. What do? What is your state of being reflect? What are your actions reflecting? So I did have these fears that none of this was going to work out for me, that I was going to end up broke, that I was going to be a starving artist, that no one was going to watch my channel, that no one's going to buy my art. But did I proceed like those were truths? Fear does not equal truth, okay? But if you treat your fear like the truth it will be. So this, as I said, this is so layered, this is so deep. And I can't put all the mindset shifts, all the advice in one video, but I can point you in the right direction to solve the root of a lot of things in this video. Here's what I can do to help with your journey moving forward. So if you are an artist, a creative, did you know that you could be using your creative practice, singing, dancing, drawing, to rewrite limiting beliefs, to bring life to your intentions before they're there, to manifest, to heal? You know, we've been internalizing lack of representation, internalized oppression, all of these things. Every comment that was said to us, everything that was done to us, our body, our subconscious remembers, and it has formed into a neural pathway, into a limiting belief. And it is going to take a lot of inner work, a lot of catching yourself at that negative belief, working against those thoughts. And it's going to be hard at first, and you're going to have to get used to being uncomfortable. And this is why I say, and you can manifest with anxiety, because most of the time you will be feeling uncomfortable taking aligned action at the beginning, but the results don't come in until you move through the discomfort and the fear and doing it anyways. I have an ebook written specifically with our lived experiences in mind. It teaches you how to use your creative practice, whether that's visual arts, whether that's painting, singing, dancing, to do this internal work to begin removing personal, generational, and systemic trauma from your mind. It's called Art as Alchemy. It covers knowing that manifestation isn't one size fits all, figuring out what works for you, what has worked for you, how to get the fastest, most potent, most aligned results using your artwork, how to dissolve those limiting beliefs, how to rewrite your self-concept, how to rewrite new beliefs using artwork and portraiture and creative prompts and writing, how to process negative emotions. It breaks down everything, okay? I can't do this all in one video, but a lot of it is in this book, okay? I also have a free guide about subconscious reprogramming. Also, if you're new here, hello, my name is FAERIE. I am your personal fairy god friend, fairy god guide, here to guide us creatives, neurodivergents, BIPOC folks, fairies, mythical creatures, back to who we were before internalizing our trauma into who we will be once we learn to alchemize that trauma. Now, that's all I can do in one video without it being ages long. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this video helped you. I hope this video was helpful. Remember, the system is not more powerful than you. The system is only as powerful as the impact that you allow it to have on your mind, body, and spirit, on your manifestations. If you enjoyed this video and you would like to support me creating more videos like this, more healing guides for like-minded individuals, creatives, fairies, mythical creatures on this non-traditional path, I do have super thanks available below, and also just buying one of my guides, liking this video, commenting, or donating really goes a long way so I can keep evolving, creating these videos, reaching more people, and helping raise the collective vibration and help heal generational wounds and generational trauma across this country, across timelines, across people, across whatever. That's all. I hope this video made sense. Basically, I manifested success without having to think positive, without having to overdo it, simply by doing inner work and by trying, and I was able to do it imperfectly. I was able to do it with little to no money, no resources, simply by doing my internal work, removing systemic, generational, and personal trauma from my beliefs, from my perspective, is unlocking everything for me, is how I beat the odds and am beating the odds. Thank you so much for watching. I am FAERIE, and I will talk to you next time.